inclusion of women and youth, and especially taking into account the gender perspective in the processes of mediation, negotiation, and make sure that agreements, especially even in the different mechanisms of the framework agreement, are followed. We call all parties to actively participate ongoing mediation initiatives and make sure that there is urgent conclusion of these. We welcome, of course, the initiative of the Women, Peace and Security agenda, and we call for the support of all women initiatives towards peace and making sure that we build confidence, especially in the communities. We ask for the imposition of an embargo on the export of minerals from DRC, making sure that we are cutting all sorts of funding to armed groups. We thank you for the consideration that you have given to this call and for your kind attention. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. I now invite the European Union Special Representative for the Great Lakes region to deliver a statement on behalf of the International Contact Group on the Great Lakes region, Ambassador Johan Bogstad. The floor is yours.
Your Excellency President Museveni, Your Excellency President Ndayishimiye, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished members of the Regional Oversight Mechanism and guarantors, Excellencies, distinguished guests. I deliver this speech on behalf of the International Contact Group for the Great Lakes region, which includes Belgium, Denmark, the European Union, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, chaired by Germany. On behalf of the International Contact Group, I thank you for the opportunity to speak at this important meeting. This meeting takes place at a crucial time for the peoples of the Great Lakes region, notably in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, not least given the disastrous humanitarian situation in many places in North and South Kivu and in Ituri, the consequences that I have witnessed during my recent missions to the region. Today, I would like to convey three main messages. First, the International Contact Group stands firmly behind the spirit and the objectives of the Framework Agreement. It is not without reason that the International Contact Group in February 2025 called in its public statement on all parties in the region of the Great Lakes to, I quote, avoid military escalation, engage seriously in a political peace process, address the root causes of the conflict, and work towards revitalizing the 2013 Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the region, unquote. A comprehensive political agreement implemented by all parties is the only way to achieve a sustainable solution. And a sustainable solution can only be found if the principles of sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity are respected by all parties involved, and if each party fulfills the obligations it subscribed to by signing the Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework 12 years ago. Therefore, and this is my second point, the International Contact Group fully supports the current political processes aiming at a sustainable solution in Eastern DRC and the Great Lakes region on the basis of the relevant African Union and United Nations Security Council resolutions, including Security Council Resolution 2773. We commend the tremendous engagement by the President of Angola, João Lourenço, and former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the groundwork that they laid with the Luanda and Nairobi processes, which will now be continued under the leadership of President Faure Gnassingbé of Togo, mandated by the African Union, together with 5 distinguished facilitators. We also commend that the guiding principles of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security has been honored in the composition of the group of facilitators. This is especially relevant in a context where acts of sexual violence are used as weapons of war, as was already mentioned in the Peace and Security and Cooperation Framework 12 years ago. We welcome the important facilitating role of the State of Qatar and the breakthrough and the momentum achieved by the mediation of the United States, which led to the signing of the Declaration of Principles in Washington, D.C. on April 25 between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda. The members of the International Contact Group stand ready to support a coordinated approach of these processes that ultimately should lead to the revitalization of the 2013 Peace and Security and Cooperation Framework and its implementation. Third, the litmus test for our diplomatic endeavors must be the situation on the ground. Without a ceasefire and without withdrawal of foreign troops violating the territorial integrity, statements will remain lip service. Humanitarian access has to be ensured without any delay or conditions. All parties have the obligation to respect international humanitarian law. Therefore, the International Contact Group urges once again the parties to implement the immediate and unconditional ceasefire and call on all armed groups, including those supported by foreign actors, to lay down their arms and continue dialogue to put an end to the violence and protect civilian populations. I would like to conclude by conveying my best wishes to Uganda and President Museveni as future chair of the PSC framework to steer the process at this crucial time, as well as thanking His Excellency President Ndayishimiye. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those remarks. Your Excellency, with your permission, I now would like to invite the Executive Director of ICGLR to deliver his remarks as a representative of one of the grantor institutions. Ambassador Joao Kaholo.
Your Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, and our gracious host, Your Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, and outgoing Chair of the Rome, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers of Foreign Affairs, and all other ministers of signatory states here present. Your Excellency, the UN Special Envoy to the Great Lakes, Your Excellency, the High Authority of the African Union Commission to the Great Lakes, representatives of guarantor institutions, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an immense honor and gratitude to stand before you today at the 12th high-level meeting of the Regional Oversight Mechanism for the Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the region. We gather here in Entebbe, Uganda, united by our commitment to our region's peace, security, and prosperity. I extend my congratulations to you, Your Excellency, and through you, the government of the Republic of Uganda and the United Nations Office of the Special Envoy for organizing this important summit. Such gatherings provide a vital platform for sharing information and engaging in dialogue about the pressing crises in the Great Lakes region. Today, it is our collective responsibility to listen to their voices, respond to their needs, and work tirelessly to restore stability, peace, and hope for all citizens. Excellencies, the security challenges facing our region demand our most urgent and collective attention. The ongoing M23 conflict in Eastern DRC represents more than a localized insurgency. It poses a critical threat to regional stability and risks undermining decades of peace-building efforts. The ICGLR therefore calls upon the M23 to immediately and unconditionally stop its offensive and refrain from creating parallel state institutions in the Eastern DRC. We further call upon all armed groups operating in the Eastern DRC, such as the FDLR, ADF, Red Tabara, and Codeco, to lay down their arms and to adhere to ongoing peace initiatives under the coordination of the African Union. Meanwhile, the protracted conflicts in the Sudan and South Sudan continue to erode our collective security architecture, creating humanitarian crises that threaten the very fabric of our regional and cooperation framework. We call upon the RSF armed militia to immediately lay down their arms, cease hostilities, and engage with all other Sudanese parties in meaningful dialogue towards achieving durable peace for the benefit of the people of the Sudan. We also recommend the joint efforts of the East African Community, the Southern African Development Community, and other initiatives to address these pressing situations. These actions provide a beacon of hope. Our collective response must prioritize dialogue, mutual understanding, and collaborative conflict resolution. We stand at a critical juncture where our response will determine the future trajectory of peace and stability in the Great Lakes region. Our collective challenge is to transform these security threats from sources of division into opportunities for deeper regional and continental cooperation, integration, and development. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, today we emphasize the critical importance of the women, peace, and security agenda. Empowering women and their active participation in peace-building efforts is essential. Women possess unique perspectives and solutions that can lead to more sustainable and inclusive peace processes. In our ongoing commitment to advancing the women, peace, and security agenda, the ICGLR has undertaken significant strategic steps. In 2023, we launched the first ever Regional Gender Barometer, a groundbreaking tool that systematically tracks and measures the progress of gender equality across the region and in our member states. This innovative initiative provides a framework for assessing women's participation in political, economic, and security decision-making processes. Complementing this effort, we are currently incorporating local perspectives into the Women, Peace and Security Agenda project. This project focuses on ensuring women's participation, protection, and empowerment in peace and security efforts within the Great Lakes region, as we actively support the implementation of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 and related resolutions, recognizing women's vital role in conflict prevention, resolution, and peace building. We have also been developing a multilingual lexicon for detecting and mitigating gender hate speech across our region. This initiative addresses the growing challenge of digital violence that threatens women's participation in public and political life. In addition, following the adoption of the gender-responsive mediation strategy by our esteemed member states, the ICGLR has taken significant steps to empower women's groups and distinguished individuals within the region as insider mediators. Our approach prioritizes enhancing mediation capacities and actively involving local stakeholders, including religious and community leaders, in our mediation initiatives. These initiatives underscore our unwavering commitment to addressing the persistent challenges faced by women in our region. While we have made progress, significant barriers remain in participation, prevention, protection, and recovery. Sexual violence continues to be used as a weapon of conflict, and women remain underrepresented in key decision-making roles. ICGLR continues to play a crucial role in addressing the illegal exploitation of natural resources, particularly minerals, within the Great Lakes region. It achieves this by facilitating regional initiatives, such as the Regional Initiative on the Fight Against the Illegal Exploitation of Natural Resources, which was approved by Your Excellencies Heads of State and Government in Lusaka 2010. It focuses on certifying trade in conflict-free minerals and promoting responsible supply chains. We encourage member states to adopt measures that hold legal entities accountable for participating in illegal mineral exploitation. As a region, we need to extend accountability beyond individual perspectives. Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot overlook the significant role of the guarantor institutions of the peace, security, and cooperation framework must play. Together, we must strengthen these partnerships to tackle the root causes of conflict collaboratively and enhance our regional relations. The road towards lasting stability and peace in our region requires mutual trust, respect, and commitment to understanding and addressing the concerns of our neighbors. In our discussions today, Your Excellencies, you will also concentrate on adopting strategies to revitalize the PSC framework. This framework is not merely a document, but a promise of collaboration and a call to action. As we consider the action plan for revitalization, let us approach it with the spirit of Ubuntu and a shared vision for a brighter future, recognizing that instability in one country is instability everywhere. Furthermore, the ICGLR's role remains pivotal in fostering mutual trust and respect within the region. The ICGLR requires your unwavering support, Your Excellencies, as we collaborate to navigate the complexities of our regional landscape. Let us harness the ICGLR's potential to facilitate dialogue, create synergies, and implement effective strategies that will promote stability and development across the region. Much needs to be accomplished to achieve this, but foremost is the necessity of convening ICGLR statutory meetings, such as this one. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as you already know, embarking on discussions outlined in your agenda, and more importantly, on the path to peace, is never straightforward nor simple. It requires patience, persistent effort, and the courage to make difficult decisions for the greater good. Collectively, we possess the strength to overcome the challenges we face as a region and to build a peaceful and prosperous future for our peoples. In closing, Your Excellencies, I urge all of us to reaffirm our commitment to peace and security in the Great Lakes region. Let us seize this opportunity to collaborate and, above all, to act, turning our commitments into tangible actions that will create real change for the people we serve. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Joao. Your Excellency, with your permission, may I now invite the representative of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, which is one of the guarantor institutions. And to do that is Mr. Sgei Mbarek Ahmed. The floor is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على النبي الكريم. Son Excellence Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Président de la République de l'Ouganda. Son Excellence Evariste Ndayishimiye, Président de la République du Burundi.
First of all, to thank you, Your Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and through you, the government and the people of Uganda, for the invitation to participate in this meeting, and for the warm welcome as well as the hospitality that was extended to my delegation from the time we arrived in the Pearl of Africa. I would also wish to commend the efforts of the outgoing Evariste Ndayishimiye, champion of the African Union for youth, peace and security, from the 11th Rome meeting in Bujumbura in Burundi that was concentrated on the revitalization of the framework agreement for the DRC and the region. It is here where we need to commend and welcome the efforts of all those that have participated, and through these efforts we have been able to come up with a plan of action for the revitalization of the framework agreement after the decision of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union in Addis Abeba in 2023, 10 years after the signing of this framework agreement in 2013. The African Union welcomed the conclusions of the meetings between the EAC, SADC and ICR that have led to the reinforcing of the Luanda process and the Nairobi process. It is through this that the African Union designated His Excellency Paul Nyasimbe of Togo as a mediator after the efforts of Joao Lourenço of Angola, with the objective of merging the Luanda and Nairobi processes in order to address the root causes of the conflict in DRC and in the other countries of the region. Beyond these African initiatives, we have the Doha, Qatar initiative and that of Washington in the United States of America that are ongoing after the meeting between the mediator and the facilitators panel in Togo on the 7th of May this year. We agreed to share out this work as follows. Military issues with Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, dialogue with armed groups, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, economic regional cooperation, Excellence Mashishi Mokawertsi is supposed to handle that, reconciliation involving women, youth and civil society to Excellency Catherine Sambapanza, and then humanitarian issues, Excellency Charles Walker Zaudi will handle. After your decision, 16th decision, and in African Solidarity from October 2024, my colleague Binet Adjot, Special Envoy of the African Union on Women, Peace and Security, we organized in Luanda in November a regional forum for women leaders through His Excellency João Lorenzo, mediator in this process. This high-level forum was an occasion to mobilize women leaders from the continent, especially former heads of state, ministers, researchers, civil society representatives, as well as community leaders to support the mediation through the Luanda-Nairobi processes by enhancing regional solidarity and participation of women in order to put an end to wars in this Great Lakes region. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, what should we look forward to in trying to revitalize the framework agreement processes? It is important to consolidate the regional prevention mechanisms as well as those for prevention of all conflicts by putting all our efforts, and in that regard the African Union efforts for revitalization involve alignment of African Union initiatives with other regional and international initiatives, especially those that are being undertaken by Qatar as well as the United States of America in a more unified framework. It is an opportunity for us to mobilize the necessary resources for us to reach the results we are looking for. In conclusion, we should be more determined. We should show more solidarity, because by taking concrete diplomatic engagements and honoring them, sustainable peace in the Great Lakes region will require that, and will require, of course, reconciliation, development, and those joint efforts. And together we can overcome these challenges for the good of the people of the region and for the stability of the entire continent. I will conclude by communicating my wishes that we have fruitful deliberations, and I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, African Union. Your Excellency, with the permission, may I now invite His Excellency Huang Jia, the United Nations Secretary General Special Representative of the Great Lakes region, to deliver his opening remarks on behalf of the United Nations Secretary General as a representative of one of the guarantor institutions of peace, security, cooperation framework on DRC and the region.
Excellences, Monsieur le Président de la République du Burundi, Excellences, Monsieur le Président de la République avec votre aimable permission, je vais vous livrer
I
les
would
remarques
like to
de M.
present
Antonio
you the
Guterres,
remarks made by
secrétaire général des Nations
the
Unies,
Secretary of the United Nations,
à l'occasion
Antonio
de
Guterres,
la 12e réunion de haut niveau
during this 12th
du
high-level
mécanisme
meeting
régional
of
de
the
suivi
Regional
de
Oversight
l'accord
Mechanism
cadre,
of the Peace, Security and Cooperation
qui sont,
Framework.
comme suit.
The remarks are as follows.
Excellence, Monsieur,
Excellency, Your
Mesdames et
Excellency,
Messieurs les chefs
Ladies
d'État et de gouvernement,
and gentlemen, heads of
Monsieur le
government and heads
Président
of
de la
state,
Commission de l'Union africaine,
the Chair of the African
Mesdames
Union
et Messieurs,
Commission,
en vos
ladies
titres
and gentlemen,
respectifs,
in your different
je
various
tiens à remercier
capacities, I wish to
Son
thank
Excellence
His
Monsieur
Excellency,
Yoweri
Mr.
Kaguta
Yoweri Kaguta
Museveni,
Museveni,
Président de la République
the
d'Ouganda,
President of the Republic of
pour
Uganda,
avoir une fois
for
encore
having once
accepté
again accepted
d'accueillir
to
cette
host
importante réunion
this
de haut
very
niveau
important
du
high-level
mécanisme
meeting
régional de suivi
on the
de
road
l'accord cadre pour la paix,
and for
la sécurité et la coopération
framework
en
agreement for
République
peace, security and
démocratique
cooperation
du Congo
on the,
et la région.
the DRC and the whole region.
Cela illustre
That illustrates
l'engagement
the
résolu
commitment, the
de
resolute,
l'Ouganda
resolute
en faveur du
commitment of
dialogue,
Uganda towards
de la
dialogue,
coopération et
cooperation,
d'une paix
and
durable dans cette région.
sustainable peace in this region.
Je souhaite
I would
également
wish
saluer les
to
leaders
commend
et
the
leurs
leaders
délégations
and their
ici
delegations
présents.
present here.
Votre participation
Your
à cette
participation
rencontre
to this meeting
traduit une volonté collective
indicates the
de
collective
revitaliser
will to
l'accord cadre
revitalize the
et plus
framework
encore
agreement
de
and
construire ensemble
mostly to
des solutions
construct together
durables aux
sustainable
crises multiples
solutions
qui
to the
continuent
multitude of
d'affecter la région
crises
Grand
that are
Lac.
continuing to affect
En
the
effet,
Great Lakes region.
malgré l'immense
In effect,
potentiel économique
despite
de la
the
région,
big
les
economic
populations
potential of
de
the
la
region,
région vivent
the peoples of
de
the
nouveau
population
une crise
lives
terrible.
through a terrible crisis.
La résurgence du 1-23 en novembre
M23
2021 a ouvert un nouveau cycle
attacks
de conflits
opened a new
violents
cycle
dans
of
l'est de
violent
la
conflict
RDC
in the east of
qui
the
a
DRC,
conduit
which
l'occupation
led
illégale
to the
d'une
illegal
large
occupation
partie
of a very big
du
part
territoire du Nord
of
Kivu, puis
of North
du Sud
Kivu,
Kivu.
then later of
Cette
South Kivu.
situation a conduit
This
à la
situation led
détérioration
to the
des relations
deterioration
encore
of
entre
relations
plusieurs États de la région
between different
au
states
point
of
de
the region,
soulever
up
le
to
risque d'un
bring
embrasement
up a
régional.
risk of regional
La situation
agitation.
humanitaire
The
est
human
également devenue
situation
alarmante.
has also become alarming.
Des violations des droits de l'homme,
Violation of
notamment à
human
Goma
rights,
et à Bukavu,
particularly
actuellement
in Goma and
sous
Bukavu,
contrôle du M23,
under
sont
control
signalés
of
quotidiennement,
M23.
entraînant d'immenses
This brings
souffrances
about a
humaines.
lot of suffering to the
Des centaines de milliers
populations.
de personnes ont
Hundreds of
été
thousands of
déplacées
people
de force.
displaced.
Chaque jour, des
Every
femmes et
day,
des enfants
women and
sont
children
victimes
are
de
victims
violences
of
sexuelles.
sexual violence.
Ce soir encore,
This evening,
de nombreux enfants
many children
privés d'éducation
denied education,
dormiront le
education
ventre vide, tandis
with an
que leurs
empty
parents,
stomach,
déracinés
and
de leur
their
foyer et
parents
de leur communauté
are
d'origine,
derooted
peinent
from
à
their
assurer
homes.
leur
So
subsistance.
they have got out of trouble in ensuring the survival
Excellences,
of
Mesdames
these
et
children.
Messieurs, distingués
Excellencies,
invités,
ladies
cette
and gentlemen,
situation doit
distinguished
cesser.
guests,
J'implore ainsi
I
votre engagement
would
collectif
like to call upon
obtenir un
collective
cessez-le-feu
commitment
immédiat
so that we may
entre les parties
obtain
au
immediate
conflit
ceasefire
afin de
between the,
permettre l'acheminement
the parties
de
at
l'aide
war
humanitaire
so that we
aux
may be
populations
able to
affectées
deliver
et rétablir
human,
la confiance
humanitarian
pour donner
relief
une chance
to
aux négociations
the people
de
living in
paix.
that area, and that will give chance to
J'appelle
negotiations
également
towards peace.
à la mise en
I would
œuvre
like to
intégrale
call up
des dispositions de la
for
résolution 2773
following
du
the
Conseil de sécurité
disposals of
qui devrait constituer notre boussole
provisions of the
commune
resolution
afin de
2773
sortir
of
de cette
2025
crise
of the
qui n'a que trop duré.
Security Council, which should
Je saisis cette occasion pour
constitute
saluer la
our
mobilisation continue
guidelines in order to get out of this crisis.
organisations
I would like to take this
multilatérales
occasion
africaines,
to
illustrées
commend
notamment
the mobilization,
par la
continued
désignation
mobilization
du président fort
of multilateral organizations
d'assumer
in
du
Africa,
Togo
illustrated
en tant que
by
médiateur de
the
l'Union
nomination of
africaine
President
pour
Faure
la crise
Yassib of
entre
Togo
la
as
RDC
mediator
et
of
le
the African
Rwanda,
Union for
ainsi que
the crisis between the DRC and
l'initiative
Rwanda,
de la
as well as
communauté
the
d'Afrique
joint
de l'Est
initiative of
de la communauté de développement
the-
d'Afrique australe
the East African
qui a
Community
nommé
and
un collège
SADC,
de facilitateurs
which
comprenant
appointed
deux
a college of
figures féminines
facilitators including two
À cet égard, je
remarkable
tiens à
ladies.
exprimer ma gratitude
In this regard, I would like to
Président
express
João
my
Lourenço,
thanks and gratitude to
Président
President
en exercice
João
de l'Union
Lourenço,
africaine,
who is the
pour son
President
leadership
Chair of the African
et
Union,
le
for
travail
his leadership
substantiel
and substantial
accompli
work
dans le
accomplished
cadre du processus
during the framework of
Rwanda,
the process
dont
of
les gains
Rwanda,
devront être
whose
préservés,
gains must be
permettant
preserved,
de fournir
enabling us to
une base solide de
put
travail
in place
au
a
nouveau
solid
médiateur.
base for the work
De même,
of the new
la
mediator.
signature
In the same way,
le
the signature,
25
the
avril
25th
dernier, d'une
last
déclaration
25th
de
April
principe
of
entre la
a
RDC
principle
et le Rwanda
of declaration of principle
facilitation
between the
des
DRC
États-Unis
and Rwanda
d'Amérique,
on the facilitation of
ainsi que
under the
l'adoption
facilitation of
d'une
the United
déclaration
States,
conjointe
as
entre
well as the
la
adoption
RDC
of
et
a
le
joint
Qatar,
declaration between the
sous
DRC
l'égide
and M23
de l'État
with
du Qatar,
under
représente
the aegis
pas
of the state of Qatar represents
ces initiatives
encouraging
sont les
steps.
bienvenues
These
car
initiatives are so welcome
elles viennent
because
renforcer
they come to
et
strengthen
compléter les
and
efforts
supplement
africains
the African
sous
efforts
la houlette
under
du
the
médiateur de l'Union
mediation
africaine.
of the African Union.
Cependant,
However,
pour parvenir
in
à
order
une
to
synergie d'action
succeed,
cohérente,
to have in
il est
place
important
coherent
de bien
actions
articuler
of synergy,
et de
it's
coordonner
important
les
to articulate and coordinate the
différentes
different
initiatives
diplomatic
en cours.
initiatives which are
Je
underway.
félicite et
I wish to
remercie
commend and
à cet
thank,
égard
in this
le
regard,
président
President
Nyasibe
Nyasibe
pour l'organisation
for organizing
le 17 mai à
the
Lomé
17th
d'une réunion de
17th
concertation
May in Lomé,
avec le panel de
a
facilitateurs
consultative meeting
et des
with the panel
représentants de la
facilitators
Commission
and
de l'Union
representatives
africaine,
of the African
des
Union
Nations
Commission,
Unies,
United
ainsi que
Nations,
des
as well
États-Unis
as the United
d'Amérique.
States of America.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs,
Excellencies,
il
ladies
y a
and
12 ans,
gentlemen, 12 years ago,
la signature de l'accord
the
cadre d'Addis
signature
Abeba
of the
a posé
framework agreement of Addis
les
Ababa
fondations
put in place
d'une approche
the basis
collaborative
for a
pour
collaborative
rompre
approach in
définitivement
order to put an end
avec les cycles de
the
conflits
conflict
récurrents.
cycles which
À
are
cet
recurrent. To
la
this effect,
revitalisation
the
de cet
revitalization
accord
of
cadre
this framework
est
agreement
impérative,
is imperative
non
not only
seulement pour s'adapter aux
to
enjeux
adapt it to
et
the
défis actuels,
stakes
mais
and
aussi pour
the
trouver
present
des
challenges,
solutions
but also
pour
to make us
renforcer
find
la
solutions
mise en œuvre
so that we
de
may
certains
strengthen
engagements.
the implementation of certain
Les Nations
commitments.
Unies,
The United
à
Nations,
travers le bureau
through
de
the
l'envoyé
office
spécial
of
pour la
the
région
special
du Grand Lac,
envoy of the Great Lakes
reste
region, to
mobilisé
the Great Lakes region,
accompagner
is
les pays de la
mobilized
région des Grands Lacs
and is
sur
available
le chemin de la
to
paix, du
assist
développement
the countries of
durable,
the Great Lakes region
prospérité
on the
partagée.
path for peace,
J'en appelle
sustainable
à votre
development,
autorité
and
et
prosperity.
votre sens
I call upon you,
responsabilité
I call upon your authority
en tant que leader de la
and
région
your sense of responsibility
pour
as
rompre
leaders of the region
définitivement
to put
le
definitely
cycle
an end to
de
the
l'instabilité.
cycle of instability
Cela exige
that requires
un engagement
commitment
sans faille
without
en
fail
faveur de solutions
in favor of
politiques
political
viables,
solutions,
une
viable
volonté
political
résolue
solutions,
de
resolute
privilégier
will
le dialogue,
to favor
ainsi qu'une
dialogue,
véritable
as well as
disposition au compromis.
availability
Dans
to
un espace
compromise.
où les
In a
communautés
space where
sont
communities
profondément
are deeply
interconnectées
interconnected
au-delà des frontières,
beyond borders,
seule une approche
only
fondée
an approach
sur la
founded
coopération
on cooperation and integration will enable us to
les bases
put in place
de paix
the
durable,
basis for
d'un développement
sustainable
partagé
peace,
et
shared development, and collective prosperity.
Je vous remercie.
I thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, with your permission, permit me now to invite His Excellency, President of the Republic of Burundi, to deliver his statement in his capacity as outgoing chair of the Regional Oversight Mechanism of Peace, Security, Cooperation Frameworks. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Excellency, Monsieur
Excellency,
Yoweri Kaguta Museveni,
Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni,
Président de la République,
the President of the Republic of Uganda,
Président
and
du mécanisme
the new chair of Rome and of
Excellency,
the
Monsieur,
framework agreement. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the high representatives of the heads of state and heads of delegations, Excellencies, representative of the Secretary General of the UN,
Excellences, Monsieur le
Excellence,
Secrétaire Exécutif,
Executive Secretary of ICGLR,
distingués invités,
distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed.
qu'il me soit permis de commencer
I
par
would wish to start
rendre grâce
by
à Dieu Tout-Puissant
thanking
qui nous a
the Almighty
permis
God
de
who
nous
enabled us
réunir
to meet here
dans cette belle ville
in this very
d'Entebbe.
good, very nice
Qu'il continue
city,
à
beautiful
nous
city
guider
of Entebbe.
durant les
He should
travaux
continue to
de
guide
ce
us during
12e
the
sommet
deliberations of this 12th
régional,
summit of the region,
suivi d'accords cadres d'Addis Abeba pour la paix,
the
la
regional
sécurité et la coopération
mechanism
pour la
and
RDC
the
et la région.
framework agreement
dont je salue
of Addis Ababa for
l'excellente
peace, security and
organisation.
cooperation
Je
for
remercie
the DRC and the
particulièrement
region. I would wish to
notre
thank
musée,
particularly
le président
our
Yoweri Kaguta
musée,
Museveni, pour
President Yoweri
l'accueil
Kaguta Museveni,
fraternel
for
et chaleureux,
the warm welcome
ainsi que l'hospitalité
as well as the
légendaire
hospitality, legendary
nous a
hospitality
été
that
réservée
he accorded to
depuis
us
notre
since
arrivée
our
dans
arrival
cette belle
in
ville
this
de Entebbe,
in this
la
nice,
République
beautiful
de
city of
Uganda,
Entebbe,
la
in the
Terre
Republic of
de
Uganda, the Pearl of
Je
Africa.
voudrais par cette
I'd wish
même occasion
take this opportunity
transmettre à
to
travers vos excellences
transmit
les
through Your
sincères et
Excellencies
amicales
the sincere
salutations
and
du peuple
friendly
burundais
greetings
au peuple
from the people of
ougandais,
Burundi to the people of
ainsi qu'aux
Uganda,
peuples
as well as to the
respectifs des
respective
pays
peoples of
de la
the
CONCAD.
signatory countries
Excellences,
of the framework
Mesdames,
agreement.
Messieurs,
Excellencies, ladies and
12
gentlemen,
ans se sont
12
écoulés
years have
après la
passed
signature
after the
de
signature
l'accord
of the
cadre
framework
intervenu
agreement
le 24 février
undertaken the
2013
24th of February
à Addis Abeba.
2013 in Addis Ababa.
Cet accord
This
a
agreement
l'objectif principal
has
de mettre
the main
fin
objective
aux
of putting an end
conflits
to
armés
armed
dans
conflict
l'est de la
in the east of the
RDC
DRC
et de
and
résoudre
resolve
les causes
the
profondes de la
causes
violence
of
et
violence
des guerres
and
répétitives
repetitive
dans la
wars
région.
in the region.
Il vise
It's
aussi
also
à
intended to
établir
establish
une
sustainable
paix
peace,
durable, à
to
renforcer
strengthen
la sécurité
security and
et
to
à
promote
favoriser la coopération
regional
régionale
cooperation
pour
for
la
peace
paix et le
and
développement
sustainable
durable.
development.
Depuis sa
Since the
signature en
signature,
2013,
its signature
et
in 2013,
particulièrement
and
depuis
particularly
le
since
dernier
the
sommet
last
du mécanisme de suivi de sa mise en
summit
œuvre
of the mechanism of
tenu
its
à
implementation
Bujumbura
held in Bujumbura
en
in
2023,
2023,
nous avons
we have gone
parcouru un chemin
through
plein d'embûches. En effet,
a lot of
la
problems.
guerre est devenue
In
plus
fact, war became
dévastatrice
more
qu'auparavant.
devastating than
Le
before.
début de cette année
The beginning of this year,
2025,
2025,
a été
was
marqué
marked
par
by
une situation
a
grave
grave situation
avec la
with
résurgence de
the
la guerre
resurgency
déclenchée par le
of war
M23,
started by
soutenu par le
M23,
Rwanda.
supported by
La
Rwanda.
conquête
The
et
conquering
l'occupation des
and
territoires
occupation
congolais
of
à
Congolese
l'est,
territories in the east,
la prise de l'aéroport de
and
Goma et
the
de Bukavu,
occupation of the airport of
ainsi
Goma
que
and
le
Bukavu,
blocage
and
et la
whereas
destruction des
blockade
infrastructures
and destruction of
ont
infrastructure
occasionné des
caused
conséquences
disastrous consequences,
massacres,
massacres,
violences massives des
mass
droits de l'homme,
violations of human
trafic
rights,
des réfugiés et
refugees,
déplacés,
displaced people,
appauvrissement des
impoverishment of
populations,
populations,
anéantissement des
and
activités économiques, pillage,
jeopardizing economic
etc.
activities,
Une
looting,
situation qui
situation
va de
which
mal en pis
is changing
aussi
from
longtemps
bad to
que la guerre
worse
perdure.
for as long as
Les
the
efforts
war
régionaux et
continues.
internationaux
Regional and international
en
efforts
soutien au
in
gouvernement
support
congolais
to the
pour
Congolese
le
government
rétablissement
for
de
the
la paix
establishment of
n'ont pas
peace
donné des
have not given
résultats
any
satisfaisants.
satisfactory results. Have not
La
given
communauté
satisfactory results.
est-africaine,
The East
qui
African community,
pourtant
which
avait marqué
had
des avancées
marked some
significatives
steps
dans la recherche de la
in
solution
looking
pacifique,
for
s'est heurté
a
au
pacific
manque de
solution,
volonté du M23
found
d'entamer
problems
les
with the
premiers
lack
pas
of will of
vers le
M23.
rassemblement et le cantonnement des combattants.
And did
Moi-même,
not,
en tant que
was
président
unable
du
to
sommet des chefs
finish its
d'État
work.
de la communauté
I myself was as
est-africaine
president
d'alors,
of the
j'ai rencontré
summit
à
of
maintes
the chief of
reprises
the head of
des
state
responsables
for the community
du
of East Africa,
M23 à
East
Bujumbura
Africa. I found
pour
that
chercher
I met so many
ensemble
times people
une issue
responsible for
favorable
M23 in Bujumbura
à toutes
to
les
look
parties au conflit.
together for a
Mais au
solution
moment
to put
où
an
on
end
allait
to
assister
conflict.
au
But
déclenchement du
when we are
processus
going
de paix,
starting on
la guerre a
a peace
ressurgi jusqu'à ce jour.
process, process,
La force
the war continued
régionale a
all
alors
the time,
été obligée
and the regional force
prier
was
bagage,
obliged to leave the
laissant
place,
sur place
leaving the place Uganda and Burundi, which are acting side by side with the government of the DRC, following the bilateral agreements and common defense. Apart from that, I took the initiative to listen to Congolese communities by meeting their custom heads. Among many others, I also had discussions with the Nyamulenge community, and our exchanges were fruitful, because even if there are sometimes some hesitance due to external influences, a significant part of that community recognizes itself as Congolese. I wish to commend our brother, President Antoine Felix Tshisekedi Tshilombo, who concretized his understanding by integrating them in state institutions as Congolese. After the departure of the regional force, forces of the SADC came to support the army of the DRC to establish peace in that region. But after the intervention of Rwandan armed forces, side by side with M3 forces, the efforts failed. Today, North Kivu and a part of South Kivu are not in control of the Congolese government, with all the consequences which come with that as regards the service delivery to the state of Congo. The population in this part of the territory are just moving all over the place without any services. The efforts of the mediation efforts in the process of Nairobi and Luanda seem not to have brought about any fruits, despite the efforts made by the President of Angola, His Excellency João Manuel Lourenço, and the former President of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. I wish to commend all the good initiatives undertaken and the different processes in Africa or outside the African continent, which contribute up to now in the search for solutions through negotiation. I commend the efforts made at regional level, particularly by the African Union, the East African Community, the ECAS, the CIRGL, and the SADC, as well as efforts made by the Secretary General of the Organization of the Nations in order to re-establish peace and security in the eastern part of the DRC. I commend also the appointment of a group of eminent facilitators for the process of the East African Community SADC, of whom we have two women who support the mediator appointed by the African Union, His Excellency Nyasimbe, President of the Republic of Togo, having succeeded to His Excellency John Manuel Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola, whom we address our gratitude for his remarkable work accomplished in the framework of the Luanda process. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at this very moment, as I talk to you, the war taking place now in the east of the DRC has reached its paroxysm, and if nothing is done, it will not only extend to other provinces of the DRC, but can also affect other countries of the sub-region. In effect, the foreign armed groups which are in this part of the DRC, taking advantage of the support of certain countries like Rwanda, are watching to take advantage of this situation. I had the chance to alert the international community and regional community on the danger presented by the extension of this war in the region. Not only this can bring about a big number of uncontrollable refugees, but it presents a chance for the criminals to facilitate arms proliferation in the sub-region, which may create tensions between certain countries.
À cette occasion, je tiens à
Today,
saluer
I wish to commend
la réaction prompte
the quick
des
reaction
différents
of the
forums
different international forums,
notamment la résolution
notably the resolution
2773 du
2773
Conseil de sécurité
of
des
the
Nations Unies,
Security Council of the
condamnant
United
avec
Nations,
fermeté
condemning
l'offensive
firmly
menée par le M23
the
dans le
attacks
Sud Kivu,
and
dans le Nord Kivu
executed
et
by
le Sud
M23
Kivu,
in the North Kivu
avec
and
le
South
soutien
Kivu,
de la force
with
de
the support
défense
of
rwandaise,
Rwandan
ainsi
Armed
que la
Forces,
prise
as
de
well as
contrôle
taking
de la ville de
control
Goma
of
et celle de Bukavu.
the city of Goma
Je
and
salue
Bukavu.
aussi
I also
la session
commend
du Conseil des droits de
the
l'homme,
session of
le sommet de la
the
CEAC
Council of
et le
Human
sommet
Rights,
de l'Union
the summit
africaine,
of the
tous
ECAS
tenus en
and the
février
African Union Summit, which are
2025,
held,
qui ont
which was
tous
held in February
condamné
2025, which
les
all condemned
atrocités
the
commises
atrocities
et
committed
qui ont pris
and which
la
took
décision
the
et formulé
decisions
des
and formulated recommendations
qui ont apporté
which
encore
led,
une contribution
which
significative
made a
en
significant
faveur
contribution
de la paix
in
de la
favor
région.
of peace in the region.
Excellences,
Excellencies, ladies and
les
gentlemen,
obstacles rencontrés
the
ne
obstacles
pourraient
found
en aucun cas
could
nous
in no way
empêcher de
stop
saluer
us
les réalisations
from commend
des 2 dernières
the
années
registration
en
of
guise de bilan
in the 2
et de
years
mise en
gone,
œuvre de l'accord cadre.
what we have so far
Les
achieved
consultations de
in
haut
this
niveau
framework.
que moi-même j'ai menées,
High-level consultation,
d'abord à ma qualité de
consultation, which
président
I also
de la
participated
communauté
in.
est-africaine,
First of all, in my
alors, et aussi en
capacity as
qualité
chair of the
de
Eastern Community,
président du
and
mécanisme
also as
de l'accord
the
cadre, des
chair
rapprochements
of
diplomatiques
the
entre certains pays,
Rome
l'organisation pacifique des élections en
diplomatic
RDC sont
consultations
autant de faits
between different
à
countries.
saluer dans nos pays.
Peaceful organization of
Par
elections and DRC
L'envoyé
should be
spécial du secrétaire général des Nations Unies pour la
should be
région du
commended.
Grand Lac, en
The
consultation
special envoy
ou
of the Secretary General
conformément à nos
Nations
orientations
to the
et
region,
nos encouragements,
the said region,
a
in
mené
consultation
autant d'initiatives et de contacts,
of the orientations and
notamment
engagements we have in place,
aux États-Unis,
brought about
au
initiatives
Togo,
of
au
contact
Qatar,
in
avec
the
pour objectif
USA,
de
Togo,
contribuer
Qatar,
pour la paix
with the
dans la
objective of
région.
contributing to peace in
Je
the
voudrais
region.
féliciter
I wish
à la même
to
occasion
thank
les institutions garantes de l'accord cadre,
guarantee
l'ONU, l'Union
institutions
africaine, la
of the
SADC
agreement,
et la
the
CIRGL,
UN, the African Union, the
pour leur
SADC,
remarquable
and
contribution
CIRGL,
en
for
vue
their
de la mise en
contribution
œuvre de
intended to implement
Excellences, mesdames,
the
messieurs.
agreement.
Au
Excellent.
cours du 11e sommet
During the 11th
mécanisme
summit of
de suivi,
the
plusieurs recommandations
Rome,
et encouragements ont
many
été formulés.
recommendations and encouragements
En
were
effet,
made. In
les chefs
fact,
d'État et de
the heads of state
gouvernement
and
ont
heads of
réaffirmé
government
la
reaffirmed
pertinence de
the
l'accord cadre en tant
relevance
que
of
moyen de promouvoir la paix
agreement
et une stabilité
as a
durable
means of
dans la
promoting
région.
peace
Et ont
and
demandé au
sustainable
comité
stability in the
d'appui
region,
technique
and
de
asked,
procéder
requested
à une
the
évaluation
Technical Support
indépendante
Committee to
fera
start
nécessaire
on
la mise en
independent assessment and evaluation
en soulignant
as regards the implementation of this agreement by underlying its strong points and weaknesses and
adhère à ses principes et à ses
and
engagements.
look at how
À
the
cet
signatory
effet,
countries are
c'est avec
adhering to
satisfaction
the principles
que je
and
me
its
félicite
commitments.
du travail
In fact,
accompli
it's
pour
with
la
satisfaction
revitalisation de l'accord
that
cadre
I
dont le document assorti
commend the
d'un plan
work
d'action
accomplished
va vous
as
être
regards the
présenté.
revitalization of
Ce
the framework
travail a
agreement,
été un
whose
résultat de plusieurs
document will be
étapes,
presented to you.
notamment
This work has been a result of
des pays
several
signataires,
steps and
des institutions garantes et d'autres
phases,
partenaires
guarantee institutions
organisés
and our
à
partners,
Durban, en Afrique
organized
du
in
Sud,
Dubai and in Africa and
en
South
octobre
Africa
et
in October, November 2023, followed
suivi de
by
plusieurs
a number
réunions
of
du comité
meetings
d'appui technique
of the Technical
et
Support
de la
Committee
session
and of the
ministérielle
interior
qui a eu
session
lieu
which took
hier
place
ici à
yesterday
Kampala.
here in Uganda,
De même,
in Kampala.
Le communiqué
The
final
same way,
du 11e sommet
the
du mécanisme de
communiqué
suivi
of the
a mis en
11th
exergue
summit
le
of
soutien
the Rome
à la pleine participation
emphasized
des
the
femmes
support
et des
to
jeunes à la prévention
full
des
participation of
à la
women and the
consolidation de
youth
la paix
in the
et
prevention
au
of conflict,
dialogue politique
consolidation
dans
of
la
peace,
région, y
and
compris
political
le
dialogue
processus
in the
de
region,
Nairobi et
including
de Rwanda.
the process of Nairobi and
Les
of Rwanda.
encouragements ont
Encouragements
été formulés à
encouragements
l'endroit de la
were
République du
addressed
Burundi
to the Republic of Burundi, as well
en
as
tant que président 130 du mécanisme régional de
new chair
a
of
organisé une
the
plateforme de
mechanism
dialogue
to organize
avec les
a
femmes
dialogue
et
platform
les jeunes
with
de la
women
région,
and the youth in the region
afin
in order
de leur permettre
to enable them
de
to contribute
contribuer
to
aux
regional
efforts
efforts
régionaux de
intended to bring about
Je
peace.
suis heureux
I am
de
happy
vous annoncer que le dialogue continental et intergénérationnel sur la jeunesse, la paix et la sécurité a été couplé au forum des jeunes des pays signataires de l'accord cadre et s'est tenu à Bujumbura au Burundi du 14 au 16 décembre 2023.
Agreement.
J'ai moi-même,
It was held in
qualité
Bujumbura
de
and Burundi on the
président de
14th of December 2023. I
et
myself,
champion de
as
l'Union
chair
africaine
of
pour la
the mechanism and champion
ouvert les
of the African
travaux
Union
et
for
prodigué des
the youth
conseils et
agenda on peace and
orientations
security,
à la jeunesse
opened
conformément
the
à
deliberations
l'agenda 2063
in
de l'Union
conformity
africaine
with the
et à la
agenda of
résolution
2063 of the
2250
African
du
Union
Conseil de
and the
sécurité
resolution
des Nations Unies,
2250
avec
of the
des
Security
témoignages
Council of
concernant
United
les
Nations
actions louables
with
par ou en faveur de la jeunesse.
testimony
Les
regarding
activités du Forum régional des
actions
femmes des
in
pays membres
favor
du
and
mécanisme
by the
régional
youth.
de
The
suivi
same
des
activities
pays
of the Regional Forum
de
of
l'accord
women
cadre pour la paix, la
of the
sécurité
member
et la
countries
coopération
of the
pour
Rome
la RDC et la région
and the
ont eu
countries
lieu le
signatory
22
to the
et 23
agreement
août
for peace,
2024
security and
à
cooperation
Bujumbura, sur le
took place
thème
on the 22nd and 23 August 24, whose theme
la
was
sécurité
promote
et la coopération économique
peace
pour
and
la prévention, la protection
peace,
et le
regional peace
relèvement.
program, security
J'ai
and
également
cooperation.
moi-même
I
procédé
myself
à
also
l'ouverture des travaux,
was
soulignant le rôle
officiated
indispensable des
the
femmes
opening
dans
of
la
this deliberation
prévention
and
et la résolution
underscoring
des
the role
à
of
encourager
women
les chefs d'État
in the
et
prevention
de gouvernement
and
des
resolution
pays
of conflicts.
signataires
I
de
encourage
l'accord cadre
heads of state
de
and of
concentrer
government
les efforts visant
signatory
à
to
prendre en
this
compte
agreement
la voix de
to
la
concentrate on the efforts
notamment
intended to
en-
take in account women's voice and
en exergue l'impact des
showing the
conflits sur les
importance
femmes
of the impact
et la nécessité de leur
of
pleine
women in,
participation
and their
au
role
processus de
in
paix et
resolving
de
conflicts,
sécurité, tout en encourageant les femmes
encouraging
à
women
développer
therefore to develop
des stratégies efficaces pour construire
efficient
une paix
strategies to
Toujours
build
dans le cadre de la mise
sustainable
en œuvre
peace.
des décisions et recommandations
in
du
the
11e
framework
sommet
of
du mécanisme régional de
implementing
suivi de l'accord cadre,
the decisions
la
and
cellule
recommendations of the
opérationnelle
11th
sur les
Summit,
mesures non militaires
the
a été
operational
encouragée à poursuivre
department
son
of the group of
engagement
contact
et auprès des groupes
and
armés
coordination
étrangers
of non-military
en
measures
RDC,
was encouraged
en toute
to
transparence
follow up
avec le gouvernement congolais.
its commitment
Les résultats
as
de la
regards
mission
the
effectuée en
foreign
RDC
armed
en
groups in the
septembre
DRC
2024 par la
in all
cellule
transparency with the
opérationnelle
Congolese
du groupe de
government.
contact
The results
et de
of the mission
coordination
effected in the DRC
un
in September
mécanisme de
2024
l'accord cadre
by the operational
sur
group
les mesures
of contact and
non militaires à
coordination,
l'est de la RDC,
the mechanism of
axé
the
sur le
agreement
désarmement en vue
and
du
the
rapatriement
non-military
des anciens
measures in
combattants
the east of the
ont
DRC
été déterminants
focused on the
pour
disarmament in
l'organisation
order
d'un atelier
to repatriate
technique
the former
afin de permettre l'élaboration d'un cadre légal
war,
national pour la
warriors.
réintégration
And
des
this was
anciens
determined at the
combattants qui
organization
ont
of our
renoncé à la
technical
défense.
workshop to enable
Cet
putting in
atelier
place
a été
a
organisé en
legal
décembre 2024 à Bujumbura.
framework. That workshop was
processus
organized
de
in
mise
December
en place
2024
du cadre
in
légal
Bujumbura. The process
suit
putting in
son
place
cours.
a legal framework is in
Excellences,
place,
Mesdames, Messieurs.
is in underway.
Je m'en
Excellencies,
voudrais si je ne souligne
I
pas
cannot
le rôle
stop
joué
this
par les uns et
speech
les autres
without
dans la réussite
talking about the role played
de
by
la mission
the
qui
different
m'était assignée.
organs and different
Ainsi,
individuals
je me permets
in
de
so far
noter que ces
the
résultats ont été rendus possibles grâce notamment à une
success
collaboration
of the mission
étroite
that was
et
assigned.
productive
So I would
entre les
like to
services de
note that the
renseignement
results
burundais
were
et
made
congolais,
possible
à l'appui
thanks
du bureau de l'envoyé
to the
spécial
collaboration
des Nations Unies pour la
between
région de
the
ainsi
intelligence
que d'autres
systems of Burundi
partenaires
and
à qui
Congo
j'adresse
with support
mes sincères
of the
remerciements.
Office of the Special Envoy of the United
Excellences,
Nations. Excellences,
Je ne peux
ladies and gentlemen,
terminer
I
la
cannot stop my
présentation de
speech
ce rapport sans parler
on this
de la
report without
contribution
talking
du
about the contribution of Burundi
comme pays
as
signataire
a signatory
dans la mise en
country
œuvre
in the
des
implementation
principes
of
énoncés
the
dans
principles
l'accord cadre.
provided
Tout d'abord,
for
je
in
voudrais
the
d'abord
agreement.
rappeler
First of
les
all,
principes
I would like to
auxquels les
remind you
pays de la région
about the
se
principles
sont
which the
engagés.
countries
Il s'agit donc
committed themselves
ne pas
That
s'ingérer
is
dans
one,
les affaires
not
intérieures
to
des États voisins,
interfere
ne pas
in
tolérer
internal
ni
affairs
fournir
of
une assistance
of,
ou un soutien quelconque
other states,
à des groupes armés.
no
Il
terrorate
s'agit
or
aussi
giving
de
assistance
respecter
to
la
armed
souveraineté et
groups.
l'intégrité du territoire
Respect
des États
sovereignty
voisins,
and integrity
renforcer la
of neighboring
coopération
states,
régionale,
strengthen
y
regional
compris à
cooperation,
travers
including
l'approfondissement de
through
l'intégration
deepening
économique
economic
avec une attention
integration with
particulière that your attention focused on the issue of natural resource exploitation. Respect the concerns and legitimate interests of neighboring states, in particular as regards the question of security. Don't not host and offer any protection of whatever nature to the accused people accused of war crimes, crime against humanity, acts of genocide and aggression to people under the regime or sanctions of the nations. And finally, G, facilitate administration of justice, thanks to legal justice in this. Ladies and gentlemen, these commitments call upon us today, and Burundi took them very, very seriously. As regards Burundi, it has already taken a firm position and position of never to be part of conflict, but rather to be part of the solution. Burundi is determined to play a key role in the creation of a favorable environment to offer space of peace, enabling the region to flourish in tranquility. Yet in the past, Burundi was a problem. Burundi was a burden. Today it has become stable and reconciled. Peace and security are today available in Burundi, especially in the national territory of Burundi, and is separated for government. At national level, significant activities in favor of peace and development have already been undertaken, especially by orienting the youth and strengthening feminine leadership. The Burundian population is ready to participate in peaceful, legislative and communal elections to be held on the 5th of June 2025. This effect, the international community and national committee was led to look at this on 9th of May 2025 on the launching of the electoral campaigns in Burundi, which I launched myself. And during that ceremony, many candidates from different political parties were there together, hand in hand, giving this process its due position, financed by Burundi itself. This sign translates the sufficiency of maturity in our country. That is all to say that Burundi has put in place favorable conditions for stability in the region. As regards solidarity and humanitarian actions, allow me to underscore that after the war in the east of the DRC, especially at the beginning of this war 2025, Burundi received more than 120,000 refugees from Congo. On this subject, Burundi might form support from its partners to be able to accomplish better these humanitarian actions. I would wish to thank the Congolese government through the First Lady's office, which joined the office of the First Lady of Burundi to assist that refugee population. I thank also local associations and religious organizations in Burundi for their compassion, which is manifested by through might form support to the needs of refugees from Congo. And in this logic of supporting the DRC during this difficult time, not only Burundi receives children from Congo, but Burundi also helps the Congolese government in helping that population in distress within the country. As I've just said, Burundi offers space of peace to the neighbors in the region. We commend the peaceful cohabitation with neighboring countries, though we cannot be hypocrite that today there is some problem between Burundi and Rwanda, but Burundi is determined to look for getting out of this problem through dialogue, and we are expecting patience and out of hope. For us, we believe that in no way conflict between states can be resolved by war. We must favor that. We must favor dialogue. That's why even if you look at the causes of conflict in Burundi, in the DRC, Burundi is ready to give its contribution because it has got experience as regards national reconciliation. Excellency, allow me, as I go towards the end of my speech, to remind ourselves of the big responsibility we have and the initiatives we must support so that we may fight the root causes of the conflict in the region. In fact, the conflict in the DRC does not have origin in borders. The DRC, the Rwanda and Burundi share harmonious history since colonization. In fact, during colonization, the region colonization, Burundi was the capital of the region, including the district of Kivu and the capital of Goma. Yet, the kingdom of Rwanda and Burundi had the capital Kigali and Gitega. The three entities were peacefully living together in symbiosis, like in a federated state. After independence, an economic community of Rejoignez region was created, and the capital was Gisenyi. Gisenyi in Rwanda. Its objective was to promote economic regional and economic integration between its members by promoting free circulation of persons, goods, and capital, as well as regional security. Already before independence, in 1958, we had already a central hydroelectric network on River Ruzizi. Today, we are taking together a third project of construction of hydroelectric dam on this same river. That's to tell you that this sub-region has got some historical link which unites its member states. It's possible, therefore, to do all possible to put in evidence the conflict of this conflict and resolve it. But this conflict does not have its origin, it has its origin in the consequence of genocide in Rwanda, because the population took the path of exile, and the Rwandan government took the measure of following them on Congolese territory. Since then, the DRC has never had peace, because those pursuits were not only a consequence of total destruction of the Rwandan army of that time, but also led to the total destruction of the Rwandan army, causing, therefore, proliferation of arms in civil, among the civilians. And this enabled the criminals to have arms, and therefore cause trouble in the territory between Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. And in order to resolve this problem, we must, first of all, tackle it from two angles: the internal side of the DRC and the interstate side. As regards regional security, we must all agree to disarm or try all these armed groups from outside, which are found on the Congolese soil. We should not tolerate or even give any assistance or any assistance of any type to these armed groups. We should start on issues of common interest related to the life of our respective peoples. In that way, there will be more, there will not be any more this climate of suspicion between our states. It will be rather revitalizing the agreement. As regards internal security in the DRC, the concrete action will first of all to guarantee security of all citizens of Congo, and this should first pass by the ceasefire and disarm all the groups, armed groups, and start on that inclusive dialogue in order to lead to common future. We should focus on the basis of internal stability of the state, which requires us to strengthen good governance, democracy, fighting corruption, and illegal exploitation of natural resources, resolution of refugee problems, unemployment, and so on and so forth. In order to stabilize our countries and our states, we must capitalize on the assets, the big assets, and our human wealth, of whom, in which you have women and the youth, especially as regards peace, security, and development. But always, peace and development, which go together, must be a priority to us. That's why our proposal of a peace plan for the east of the DRC, insisting on dismantling the negative forces, foreign negative forces on the soil, and creation of a trust climate between states is the refrain of our music. Excellency, Minister President of Uganda, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before stopping my speech, I would wish to underscore the fact that I leave my successor a very important case, a very important file, that is pursuing revitalization of this agreement for peace, security, and cooperation for the DRC and the region. The framework agreement, which is revitalized, will be a very important tool and will play a crucial role in order to bring about peace and sustainable peace in the DRC and in the region. Finally, despite the challenges, our common will, good coordination of the different initiatives for peace development, the respect as provided for international instruments in the Charter of United Nations and the Charter of African Union, integration and regional solidarity will enable us to surmount the challenges and transform the region of the Great Lakes in a heaven of peace development, because together it's possible. It's on this hope that I'm closing my speech by wishing success, my successor, His Excellency, Mr. Rejoignez, to the new president of the mechanism of the ROM and of the agreement, which he had assured during the 9th summit held in October 2018 in Kampala, in Uganda. I assure you, dear big brother, President Museveni, of my support and my encouragement in accomplishing your functions, the responsibilities as chair of this mechanism. Long live peace, long live security, solidarity and development in the Great Lakes region. God bless you. I thank you. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Isimiye. Your Excellency, I would now like to request you, Your Excellencies, to perform a formal ceremony that marks the official transfer of chairmanship of Rome mechanism from Republic of Burundi to Republic of Uganda. Your Excellency, it's now my singular honor and pleasure to invite you in your capacity as incoming chair of the Rome Mechanism of Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework of the DRC and the region to deliver your remarks, Your Excellency.
His Excellency Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, the Special Envoy of the Secretary General, the Vice Presidents who are here, Vice President of Sudan, Khartoum, Vice President of South Sudan, the heads of delegations, members of the diplomatic corps, and all the people who are here. I want to thank and congratulate His Excellency Ndaishimie for the wonderful work he has been doing for the last 2 years, as you heard. You heard his exhaustive speech talking about this problem of Congo, but in many ways, that problem of Congo has been similar to other problems in Africa since independence. We had a long discussion inside among ourselves, and I was telling Their Excellencies that I had been watching the situation in Africa as a close observer and also a participant for the last 65 years. When this problem of Congo started, we were watching. It was like live on TV. They had elections in 1960, and there were two camps. One camp was of parties which were sectarian, based on ethnicity. The Bakongo, Chombe of Katanga, and so on. Lumumba had a party called MNC, which was a party of unity. You could call it a patriotic party. He won the election, but he was killed. He was killed. And from that time, Congo has never been stable. There was a huge rebellion by people called Simba. These were peasants who were supporting Lumumba. They were not well organized, but you could see they were popular and very angry, but also not disorganized, believing in witchcraft and so on. The problems went on. When Mobutu came into power, the internal problems of Congo continued, off and on. Katanga, then the rebellions of 1978, somebody called Nathanael Mbumba. Now the problems were, you could see, we who were watching, you could see that the problems were really two. Not listening to the populations, of Congo. The government which was there was not listening to those people. But also depending on external support, military support. When Mobutu came in, he was being supported by the UN forces. Then the French, Giscard d'Estaing sent French army there. Then Morocco, and then so on and so on. So those two parts. not listening to the local people, but depending on external support. As long as I have external support, I don't care about the internal. That was, of course, was not only in Congo, even here, that was the problem. In Uganda, that's why Uganda had become a failed state. And in Sudan, that was the problem. Khartoum was not. So it was a big problem of politics of identity, tribes, religion, not listening to the nationals and depending on external support. Now, His Excellency referred to it, the new dimension, and also not caring about the neighbors. Mobutu never cared about the internal people of Congo, nor did he care about us. He didn't care. And he was supporting groups against Angola, Savimbi, Holden Roberto. They were in Congo against Angola, against our people. Because at that time, we had an anti-colonial effort. But Mobutu was on the other side. So don't listen to the internal, don't listen to the neighbors, and depend on external support. Now the collapse of Mobutu came. Meanwhile, in Rwanda, Burundi, there was now another problem. The problem of ethnicity, which had come up towards the independence of Burundi and Rwanda. The conflict, the artificial conflict between Hutu Tutsi, which had resulted in the massacre of the Tutsis in Rwanda in 1959. That massacre of the Tutsis generated a Tutsi diaspora. That's how these people like President Kagame, they were here, came here as young children. I think Kabarebe must have been born here. That big minister. That big minister Kabarebe was born here, in exile. In Burundi, the crisis was postponed because there were patriotic leaders with a movement called UPRONA, led by Prince Rui Rwagasore. They kept the Burundi people united, so they didn't have the crisis or the same problem. But Rwagasore was killed. Rwagasore was killed. Lumumba was killed. Rwagasore was killed. You say Mure, Français, killing you. What is killing? Assassinate, but they are there to murder, to kill. Mure, to kill. We had said the word inside there, I forgot. To kill, to die. So, Rwagasore was killed by a white priest. His deputy, Rwagasore was a Tutsi and a prince. He was a prince. His deputy, Njandandumwe, was a Hutu, was killed also. So UPRONA was beheaded, decapitated. I also have some few French words. Décapité. So now some other people who were confused, Michombero, came in 1965, 66. 66, Michombero. What you people, you call history, I call current affairs, because all these were, I was watching. So Michombero came in now. He said now, for the Tutsis to survive in Burundi, they must kill the Hutus and they must monopolize power forever for their security. So that's how now the problem of Burundi now also became more or less like Rwanda, especially in 1972. That's what the worst. Now, the Tutsi diaspora from Rwanda, who ran away went to Uganda, Congo, Tanzania, there were very many there, organized. We tried to negotiate with Habyarimana. Habyarimana, please let these people go back to their country. Habyarimana said, no, there's no space for them. Rwanda is too squeezed. So these fellows, impatient, they organized. His Excellency referred to it here. They attacked Rwanda. We tried to negotiate to have a peace. But now, Mobutu intervenes now in Rwanda now to support Habyarimana, to support the Hutu extremists. That's how now the problem of, His Excellency referred to it, that's how the problem of Congo now, which had its own internal problems, is now linked with the problem of Rwanda. Mobutu's army was defeated in Rwanda, and together with Habyarimana, as His Excellency said, the army of Habyarimana was destroyed. Then they fled into Goma. We appealed to Mobutu to disarm them. We wouldn't listen. Because he thinks the internal forces don't matter, we the neighbors don't matter, what matters are the foreigners who are supporting them. This really, you better focus on that. Because otherwise, why was Mobutu not listening? We were here, we could have helped him. So, that's how now the problem of Rwanda gets linked to the problem of Congo. When the Tutsis organized and attacked the Hutus in Goma, and then it led to the collapse of Mobutu. So that is this whole story. But it is solvable, because here in Uganda we solved it. We had the same problems. Sectarianism of religion, sectarianism of tribes. But we exposed that misanalysis. Why is identity important? More important than interests? His Excellency referred to it in his speech. Why don't you look at trade and exchange of goods and services and building the economies for the whole area instead of tribes, religion? So we had a long discussion when we were inside there. I want to congratulate again His Excellency for the good work he has done. You had the elaborate report he gave. We are now going to, we know what the problem is. This can be solved. All of them, we sit here, we can solve them. Because this is, we are ancient people of this area. We are not new arrivals. There's nothing we don't know. about all these countries, Rwanda, Burundi, Eastern Congo, Tanzania, Kenya. These are our people. So therefore, let's really solve this problem. It is easy. In my opinion, these problems are easy to solve. They are not difficult. What is difficult is 3 mistakes: philosophy, ideology, strategy. Once you make those mistakes on those 3, then that's how a small problem becomes a big problem. So I thank everybody for coming, responding to our invitation, and I thank His Excellency Ndayishimiye for shepherding this work in the last 2 years. So let's see what we are going to do in this phase, because we know what the problem is, and it can be solved. But we must have the political will, and the foreigners should limit their involvement, because the foreigners are the ones who carelessly embolden the mistake makers. Then the mistake makers think that we don't care about these internal groups, we don't care about the region. What is important is the external support. This is the problem I have seen here. I thank you, and let's now go for the next level.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your opening remarks. Your Excellency, this marks the open session. Now I'd like, with your permission, to propose a closed session.
Very good.
And a closed session, I would like to request the Fourth Estate to kindly take leave. There is some room organized for you there. We shall again invite you at an appropriate time. Thank you.
urubuga gahunda chaste urubuga rubigenge n'ubwisanzure urubuga gahunda chaste waje turukeneye turogora baroswe tugura rubanda tubaka bumundu tugacubucakara buyuguruye turogora baroswe tugura rubanda turwanya akarengane tugacubucakara buyuguruye nimuze nshuti bavandimwe tugane uru rubuga ubusesenguzi bwuzuye ubuhanga n'ubushishozi niho tububusanga turogora barozwe duhugura rubanda tubaka mu mundu tugacubucakara buyuguruye turogora barozwe duhugura rubanda turwanya akarengane tugacubucakara buyuguruye igihugu cyacu cyanguye mu maboko y'inyangabirama imyaka ibaye myinshi imyaka nayo n'umurengera hanze nitubyange kwiswano kwicira muze nshuti bavandimwe tugane uru rubuga ubusesenguzi bwuzuye ubuhanga n'ubushishozi niho tubusanga turogora abarozwe duhugura rubanda tubaka ubumuntu tugaca ubucakara bw'uburure turogora abarozwe duhugura rubanda turwanya akarengane tugaca ubucakara bw'uburure urubuga gahunde chaste urubuga gahunde chaste urubuga gahunde chaste nimuze dufatanye